most common questions I get almost on a daily basis is about saddle fit, and I'm sure in your job you get it even more than I do.
We get it almost daily, either email, telephone call. When I'm out in the industry, people are always concerned about saddle fit.
Do you think that sometimes there's maybe a little bit too much attention paid to it? Sometimes, often I tell people, when you go to buy a pair of shoes off the shelf, you try to find the shape of the shoe that you know is going to fit your foot the best. It may not be perfect in every little square inch, but it's good enough.
Sure, and saddle fit's a lot like that. We have a tendency to overanalyze it at times. And so typically saddles are made to fit normal. And so if your horse is pretty normal, whether he's thoroughbred or wider backed, then most saddles are made to fit that type of conformation. Where we're really getting in trouble is when you're abnormal. That makes it very difficult.
Yeah, so like a super high withered horse or maybe a sway-backed horse? Is that what you mean?
A younger horse, older horse that's swayed back, no saddles are made to fit those type of horses. Then when you get extremely narrow, extremely wide, short coupled, all of those are not normal. So as a result of that, we have these issues, and typically people are trying to find a saddle that would fit that issue. That makes it tough.
What would you say is the biggest concern, or maybe the few biggest points about saddle fit?
Well, typically when we fit saddles, the two biggest issues obviously are the shoulder. And so in our company, we have at least 5 different tree widths to try to fit that shoulder. And some, depending on the discipline, are wider in the gullet, some a little bit narrow in the gullet. Some of them we just spread the bar shape a little bit. And so more of your performance horses are very flat backed and very muscular, and so on those horses we widen the gullet out a lot more. A lot of your trail horses, they might have a little bit of weather and get big gradually, and on those saddles we actually just change the angle of the bar. So the shoulder width is a big deal for us, and also we have a lot of bar flare on our wood trees, and on our flex saddles they actually flexed in the tips. So it helps with that shoulder movement. So we're very concerned about that. And Julie, probably the second thing we look at is actually the slope of the horse's back. And so that's the next biggest concern. And usually when you talk about that, the idea is bridging. And so bridging is...
So you're getting contact in the front and the back, but not in the middle.
Yes, and the middle part of the saddle is called rock, like a rocking chair. And so some saddles don't have enough dip in the middle, enough rock in the middle to fit the slope of that horse's back. And that will cause, and that can be fixed with saddle pads. They have bridge pads, they have sway back pads, those type of pads, or even your short coupled horses like your Missouri Foxtrotters. Those horses are difficult because the bar has a tendency to be longer than the horse's back, and we can get some bridging issues from that. Yeah,
my horse is a very athletic horse, and I wouldn't say he has a dip in his back, but his withers are very set far back. So that does create a little bridging issue with him, but it's pretty easily padded out with just by using a bridging pad. Actually, I find with the flex tree, there's enough flexion in that to absorb that bridge, and it's making good contact.
And those are great things. Pads in our industry today have really helped a lot of issues in horses' back and bridging things that take place. And sometimes if you've even got a saddle that's a little wider, that would set down a little deeper and take care of some of that bridge area in the horse's back. So that's a great way to fix that. And probably the other big issue is people think they have to have 100% contact, the bar against the horse's back, and that's not necessary. I would say the lighter weight you are, and if you don't ride all the time, the less necessary it is to have 100% contact. But if you're a heavy rider, or if you're a rider that rides 6-7 hours at a time, 2, 3, 4 days a week, that's much more necessary to have contact. It's kind of like the pee in the mattress. If you don't have really good contact and you're heavy or you ride a lot, the horse starts feeling some of that, and that's when saddle fit really becomes important, when you want to have more contact than normal.
What about wither clearance? It seems like a lot of people are struggling with these really high withered horses. What can we do for them?
Well, that's a good question. Most of our saddles, we understand we sell a variety of horses. And so as a result of that, we have a lot of gullet clearance in the saddles. And so people always talk 2 fingers, 3 fingers. You know what I want? No contact. Because we're not fitting the gullet, we're fitting the bar. And if we don't have any contact up there, and if there is, if it's a little close, you can get a cutback pad to raise up the bar but not raise up the shoulder, and that really helps out a lot. But I just don't want contact. I really want to fit the bar against the horse's back.
One more question, let me ask you. We get this a lot people call up on the phone and they ask us what size tree they need for their horse. We can't even see the horse, and we tell them there's no way we can tell you that. What can we tell them so they can figure out what size tree they need?
You know, what I tell them is we don't necessarily fit breeds, we fit conformation. And as you know, all breeds have different conformation. And so typically a medium or regular tree, semi-quarter horse, all mean the same thing. They fit horses that are kind of thoroughbred in conformation. A little bit of weather, a little bit narrow-chested. Then typically your wide tree fits more of your traditional quarter horse build. Maybe Missouri Foxtrot, stockier. Yeah, and you can kind of go by conformation and tell them which tree would fit best. We also make extra wide, we make mule trees. So all those different type of conformations, we try to meet all those demands.
Cool, awesome.